Right, gents, and then obviously this weekend we have the Super Rugby tournament starting. Of course, the third round of the Six Nations as well. So some good rugby coming up. We'll chat later in the week about that. But on the rugby subject, some more sad news. Losing another rugby legend. This time it was South African-born lock Dan Vickerman, who played 60-odd tests for the Wallabies. And I just wanted to speak sort of quite frankly about this. I mean, there hasn't been an official announcement around the cause of his death, but enough evidence to suggest that he took his own life. I mean, there's an article in the New Zealand Herald where they put suicide helplines at the end, and another article about him struggling to make the transition from Test rugby, into this sort of corporate working world. What is your take on this topic, Rob?
Of course, we woke up Sunday to the very sad news that it had actually happened. Of course, it would have caught a lot of us by surprise. We're not always aware of the personal circumstances of a lot of retired sports people. We know it's quite a complex business. Quitting after many years of that sort of team camaraderie environment, and then players going into a position where they have to go off on their own and sort of earn their honest crust elsewhere, and they find it difficult outside of that whole sort of support structure that you get. It's particularly common among cricketers. I know we don't have that sort of official confirmation of the cause of death, but as you say, you have to draw quite sort of sad conclusions about the manner of his death, because we had no evidence of any sort of special physical illness that he had or anything like that. So it's certainly it does look as though he took his own life, which is obviously an immensely sad thing. He was a family man. Immediately some tributes from around the rugby world. We've got used to sort of tragedy early in this new year, sadly, with really top names going. This follows very soon after the whole Joost van der Westhuizen passing.
Yeah.
So not great for the rugby community. I noticed that Nathan Sharp, who partnered him quite a lot, obviously, for the Wallabies, many times in fact, putting out a tribute on Twitter. Victor Matfield responded very quickly, indicating again that sort of the brotherhood of top second rowers, if you like. And Vickerman was a very decent rugby forward. I thought he had a combination of sort of decent athleticism. He was quite a hard as we were chatting off camera beforehand, a bit of an enforcer type player as well. So a good guy to have in your side, sort of multi-talented. He was tall timber. He tended to win his own line out. He was a part of that sort of wave of South African-born rugby players who went over to Australia. You think of Tiaan Strauss almost as a bit of a pioneer in the sort of modern age, then Clyde Rathbone, Dan Vickerman following suit after being educated in Cape Town at Bishops, being a promising prospect for South Africa, quite frankly, until of course he decided to make the big move. Certainly an event that the world rugby community as a whole would have been very, very upset about over the weekend.
Garen, obviously it is a sensitive issue, but do you think, I can't help feeling there's an element of rugby authorities and the media sort of not really knowing how to talk about mental health issues? Like with Joost it was physical, with Jonah Lomu it was physical. Those things are kind of easy to talk about and deal with and understand and get your head around, but when it's mental health, it does seem to be a bit of a sort of grey area.
Yeah, I guess so. That is true. Like you said, Joost, Sione Laki, recently as well, Jonah Lomu, they all had physical ailments. Even Christian Liliafano, he's been diagnosed with leukemia as well. Luckily, he's in remission. But with Dan Vickerman, I guess we just don't know how to approach it. We obviously wait for the official announcement. We don't want to jump to conclusions and that sort of thing. But obviously, we're relying on reports out of Australia for confirmation, but like you said, it does appear that he did take his own life, which is obviously immensely sad. At home, he's got two young children and a young wife, obviously. So it just doesn't sit well with you. It's sort of like that shame. How bad were things? We wish we were there for him type scenario. There's talk about not being able to make that transition from retiring early with a leg injury. His rugby's been his whole life, from Bishops, under 21s, moving across to South Africa with his family at 21, Australia, sorry, and then quitting rugby for a while, and then actually going over to the UK to study for 3 years, coming back, playing more rugby, and then being forced into early retirement. He was only 37. You've got lots of players still playing at 37 these days. So it just doesn't sit. Just something in your stomach just makes it feel like shame. Wish we had known more. Could have been there to help him. Eddie Jones, England coach now, but he obviously coached in Australia, coached Vickham at the Wallabies. He was quick to send his condolences as well. Talked him up as a real hard man, real team man. So they've been pouring in across the board again. Sadly, we're only in February. This is like the third rugby death that we sort of having to report on. So hopefully, if there are other players out there that are dealing with similar situations that we just again don't know, that helpline that you talked about, they do take advantage of that and contact somebody at least, or the partner of a ex-sportsman, not just rugby players, gets in contact with the authorities and says, we might have a potential problem here, because you just don't expect that. It's obviously going to be a massive shock when you do learn of that sort of situation happening.
Right, James, thanks for your insight this morning.
Thanks.